Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental, a podcast that seeks to educate, empower, and uplift those seeking guidance through the monumental world of mental health. I'm your host, Raquel Martin, a PhD candidate in medical and clinical psychology. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health clinician. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2. So I hope you liked the first episode. I liked the first episode. I thought it was a pretty solid first episode. So today I wanted to talk more about, I wanted to talk about this whole school scandal that I'm sure you guys are so sick of hearing about, but it made me think about barriers. So I wanted to talk about the school scandal. Wanted to talk about how it made me think about barriers, and I wanted to provide like a brief story about a friend that called me recently regarding like barriers that she thought were going to be in like her education process. So for those who don't know, there was this whole school scandal, bunch of rich white folk, like super rich, like let's say wealthy, because one of those people got like long money. One of the girls, the husband, like did Massimo for Target, and I just love some Massimo. I don't think he has that deal anymore, so that is gone. But basically, rich white folk, you know, children didn't have grades good enough to get into school, so they're like, cool, we can totally work around this. Let's pay like hundreds of thousands and in some situations millions of dollars to get our kids into school, because why should, you know, they suffer for not working? It's not like hard work will get you the things that you need. Like, we got money, so we just gonna buy our way in. So they bought their way in by like paying people to like take the SATs for their kids. Like one kid, for example, thought he was going to take the SAT at one place, but really the SAT was being taken another place by another kid who was smarter, clearly. Another ones, they wanted the kids to get in on like a sports scholarship, but they didn't have no sports experience, so they'd like put their names, their faces. It's not funny, but oh my gosh, like the links that people will go to not to work. And this is another, I digress. This is another thing that cracks me up. Black people get told all the time that they're lazy, right? Like that's like one of the misconceptions. That's like one of the like stereotypes, all that stuff. And you know what? I don't like, it just cracks me up that black people are called lazy when a certain race of people went to a whole different continent to steal people. Not slaves, because I hate when people say slaves were taken from Africa. People were taken from Africa. Laureates, kings, queens, people were taken from Africa and brought here. So like, I don't know if we lazy, but I do know a certain group of people went to a whole different country just so they ain't have to work. So, you know, whatever. So back to the thing. So they what else? They put faces on top of like people who were like sports stars and stuff like that. And then when they got to college, of course, they could just say that they like, oh, the whole process didn't work out with sports, but they're still allowed to be in the school because they're not going to they're not going to kick them out of school. So why did this make me think of barriers? So this made me think of barriers. Well, first it made me think like, one, I wasn't surprised. I was actually surprised by how many people were surprised by this, because it's not surprising to me, like, that people would do this. Like, I think that a lot of people, certain people are entitled and they feel like, you know, their child should be able to do whatever the heck they want to do. And if they have money, just pay for it. But one of the things that's made me think about is barriers is like, there's so many times when it made me think of barriers because these people had no barriers when they like to do what they wanted to do. And I couldn't help but think about my school experience and the fact that basically, I've said it before, the higher up I get in education, the less I see people who look like me. And a lot of times I think people don't try this aspect of, I'm going for my PhD in medical and clinical psychology. One, because they don't have the time. A lot of times with black people, we push you to like, you got to get a job. Like, we have stuff to do. We have bills. We got to get a job. We don't have someone, you know, we don't have the time to go through like such a long process. Like, it's amazing if you're able to, but I'm well aware that that's not the process for a lot of people. Also, it's like, oh, I don't see many people that look like us in this program. It might be harder for us to get into this program. And for individuals who thought that like they didn't get into a program or something like that and they just changed their entire being, that made me think of barriers. Like I've had so many barriers. I went to like FIS for undergrad, which was great. Got my master's in psych at Lipscomb, which was also in Nashville. Got another master's in medical and clinical psych at my current program. Um, will be graduating my PhD in May. But there were barriers to every single aspect of that. And I don't want all these people who didn't get into these programs to think like, if you wanted to get into higher education programs and stuff like that, to think that like I didn't get in because I wasn't enough. You might not have gotten in because someone else took your spot. You might not have gotten in because it wasn't the right time. You might not have gotten in because like it just wasn't the right opportunity. But that doesn't mean it should stop you. Because I know this sounds crazy, but like being stupid didn't stop these people. Like it didn't stop their parents not just acknowledging like, oh, my child is a complete moron, but they deserve to get into the school. So like I feel like we need to keep that same energy. I think minorities need to keep that same energy. And I think that's where I got connected to that. And I think it all starts with like the way it starts with our perception. And it also comes from the way we think. I say all the time that, not I say all the time, there's this therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy. And the whole aspect of it is that thoughts create feelings, and feelings linked to behaviors. And by changing one, you're able to change like another. So like if thoughts create feelings, feelings create behaviors, behaviors reinforce thoughts. If I change one, I'm able to help the other aspects. So like the example I always give my patients is like, say you walk past like a group of people and they start laughing and your automatic thought is that they're laughing at you. Then you start to feel embarrassed and then you leave the room or something like that. So you withdraw. Say you walk past that same group of people and they start laughing and you're like, ooh, someone must have told like a funny joke. I want to hear the joke. And you ask, what's the joke? So then you like your feeling that you're having is like you curiosity, and then you go over to the people and then you engage with them. But those two encounters were the same thing. But the only difference is, what did you think when you heard that? So I thought of, what do you think when you hear no? Like, is no just like, oh, well, that's the end. Like I can't move forward with this. And when I say keep that same energy, just when you hear no, be like, okay, well, I'm gonna hear right now, not right now, and I'm gonna try to find another way, because no is just one of the many barriers that you have to deal with. And I don't think that you need to stop going just because you hear that, because you got these morons who just feel so entitled to things that they try to get it, whether it's like rob, pillage, and steal. And I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm saying we have so many, everything starts with our thoughts. I think that as a people, we need to think more about the fact that we should feel entitled to certain things. We should feel entitled to receive a certain education. We should feel entitled to get a certain promotion. We should feel entitled to try a new opportunity, no matter if someone else is doing it. You may be able to do it better. Someone posted something a while ago. It was a picture of the bread aisle. And it was like, it said, for all the people who don't want to try to a new idea because there's something similar out there like it. There's like 50 different kinds of bread. And I feel like I'm undershotting it. You got gluten-free, you got almond flour, you got Ezekiel. You don't even have bread just in the pantry aisle anymore. You got bread in the freezer. We got a whole nother category for them. So like, when do you have it so that like someone has something similar and you're like, well, I probably shouldn't come out with that? Or it's just like there's always that joke with babies. Like, you ever see babies walking and they try to walk and they fall down, and you ever hear one saying, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I'm going to try walking. No, right? Like, they fall on their butt, they get back up, they start wobbling, and eventually learn how to walk. We need to keep the same energy as like as a people, as Black people, as like minorities, as underserved populations. Like, we need to start feeling more entitled to the things that really should be for us. Like, it's not the fact that we weren't enough. It was never the fact that you weren't enough. Okay. And if there's one barrier, then you just try to overcome it. So how do you do that, right? One, I feel like you need to start with your thoughts, because I really do feel like a lot of times the biggest barrier is us. It's not always us. It can be like other people getting in our head and things like that. But I like to focus on what I can control, and I can't control other people's behaviors as much as I would love to. That's not the case. So I try to focus on the things I can control as much as possible, because everyone ruminates on things. Like sometimes I just ruminate on stuff that there's no point in focusing on. And luckily, my friends and family help me to snap out of that. But what I can control is me, and what I can control is my thoughts. And my thoughts are normally the things that impact how I'm feeling. So if we're dealing with barriers, one, I think we have to identify what the barrier is. Like, so if you're thinking about progress and you're thinking about a goal, we're really just identifying barriers to change. Like, we're just thinking about things that get in the way of us changing certain aspects of our life, certain aspects of our behavior, certain aspects of our mental health, anything. Like, it can be something, and I don't want to say something simple, because I don't think change is ever simple. It could be something like you just want to, I don't know, read more. What gets in the way of that? You want to work out more. What gets in the way of that? You want to be more positive. What gets in the way of that? You want to go to school. What gets in the way of that? You want a new job. What gets in the way of that? Because although I have been in school my entire life, and it's too late for me, it's not too late for you all. Like, no, just kidding. I don't subscribe to the fact that you have to go to school to be a prosperous person. I honestly don't think there's enough people in trade right now. If I knew how to do any kind of trade, I'd be charging people off the wazoo, because if I was an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, you could charge whatever, because no one knows how to do these things. But whatever. But the first step is identifying the barriers to change. So what could it possibly be? Could it be that you don't have any information about it? One, I think a lot of things is that we don't have information about certain things. So you want to achieve this goal. You want this dream job. Do you know anyone who has a dream job? Do you know anyone who's achieved this goal? Is it possible to reach out to them? Is it possible to contact someone who may know them? Like, that's the first thing, is the information aspect of it. You got to be true to figure out what you want your goal to be. You have to realize, like, this is what do I really want to achieve in life, which I think also links very well into the values episode previously. If you didn't check it out, please do. It's the episode before this. But what do you really want to achieve? Being realistic about it. I also don't subscribe to the whole aspect of, work towards your goal no matter what. Some people may disagree with me, but when your goal is hurting yourself or others, and you may have been working on it for like 12, 13, 14 years, you still trying to sell that mixtape, and you about 52, it's time to let that go. I don't think that it's the whole never give up mentality. I don't believe in that, because there are some times when you should give up, when what you're doing is hurting yourself and what you're doing is hurting others, when it's holding you back from other things. It may be time to hang that up. So that's just how I feel. Other people may feel differently, but I don't support that. So identifying realistic goals and your ability to achieve them. And maybe realistic isn't the best word, but it's the only one I got right now, because I think you should also, like, shoot for the stars. I just think that if you've shot for the stars like 25 times and you've broken your bones like 53 times, maybe it's time to shoot for the clouds instead, if that makes any sense. Or just, shoot for the roof. Like, and it can still be an achievement. It's just an adjustment, in my opinion. So getting information about what you want to do, identifying what you want to do, looking into your skills and capacity to achieve this goal. Be realistic. Be like mindful of like what the possibilities are and how that, like, going for that will impact your life, and if you're willing to make that sacrifice. Because just like I say with therapy, nothing works like work. So you may think this dream job is amazing. You may think this opportunity is great, but you didn't know that this person works somehow 27 hours a day, 8 days a week. Are you willing to do that? Like, and I know that's excessive, because that's not like real math. Like, that's not like a real math calculation. But the person who has that job, have you ever asked them about what it took for them to get there? Like, a lot of times people advertise their successes, but we don't get to see the journey much of the time. Like, we see someone who is like they're called overnight successes, but who was it? Big Sean. and one of his songs said, like, I guess it took like 10 years to become an overnight success, because that's the way he kept getting quantified, like, oh, you did so good, you became an overnight success, you've been working really hard. And he was like, no, I haven't. I mean, not working really hard, but he's like, you just blew up one night. And he was like, no, I haven't. I've been in here, I've been doing this, y'all just started seeing me. But just because you don't see me doesn't mean I'm not working. It's like a duck, right? Like, ducks look like they're smooth sailing across the top of the water, but you don't know how fast their legs are moving under that. So look into more, not just like the aspect that you can see. If you can reach out to someone, look into the aspect that you can't see. Like, how long did it take you to get here? And like, what else? What are some ways that you can overcome the barriers? What are some ways that it might be helpful? Linking up with someone. I feel like mentorship is always so helpful. Sometimes people don't want to reach out to other individuals just because they don't want to be embarrassed or they don't want to be shot down. I prefer to be the more like persistent and relentless aspect of it, because I found that works for me. It may not work for everyone. I'm just a very pushy person, and I have found that it works for me. I feel as though, as long as you're being polite and you're just being respectful and you're smiling, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for whatever the flip you want. And most of the time I do. So, that's not an issue, but reach out to people. It was very difficult for me, and I actually still to this day don't have a mentor within my field. I have a great support system of individuals, of young women who actually are in the same field as me. So like, they were kind of like lifting each other up as we all climb. So like helping each other up as we learn different things. But we do often talk about how it will be helpful to find a mentor. But it's just been difficult. A lot of times I want a mentor that looks like me because some of the stresses are different, and that hasn't been helpful for me. But it doesn't stop me from reaching out, and it doesn't stop me from looking. In a lot of different professions, there are mentor programs. I know of psychology specifically, the what is it? ABPSI, Association of Black Psychologists, has this program. I think it's called Jenga, where it's like a mentoring program. And my husband is in the what's this organization he's in? I think it's the Association of Black Accountants, and he got a mentor through that. A lot of jobs have mentors built in to them. Like one of my best friends, she works with Geico, and there's like a mentor program built into that. Like, cause you understand like the efficacy and the helpfulness of that. But if you can't find the person, reach out to them. And I remember Issa Rae saying one time, when she was getting an interview, that a lot of times people, she was like, a lot of times people have the inclination to reach above them, right? Like to try to it would be like if I'm trying to be a singer and I try to hit a Beyonce, and then I feel like I'm hopeless because I can't like reach Beyonce. But she kind of framed it as like, I tried to work with people who were on the same level as me, who were as hungry as me, who were starting out just like me. So like, if you do want to be an artist, or you do want to be a singer, or that's something that works for you, have you looked at people's SoundClouds? Have you looked at people's I don't know, Facebooks or YouTubes? Because that's something that really helps, apparently, to get you pretty famous. Like, have you tried to reach out to people that are just as hungry as you and just starting out? Right? Like, you don't have to always go above and beyond where you're at. It can be helpful to work with people who are on the same level as you, because then you guys could get to have like that kind of prosperous relationship together, and you both know what you're looking out for. Like, you both know what your goals are. So like, yeah, like and you know what? I think today's episode might honestly be entitled like, keep that same energy, or feel entitled to your success. Because with me not being surprised by the whole people getting their way paid, it just really made me think like, man, think of how many people think that they just weren't worth getting into this program. Think about how many people thought that like that it wasn't for them, and that they weren't good enough. And when I heard the whole scandal, I was like, sounds about white. Like, that's just what it is. Like, in the table, like, the rules are different. So to me, when I heard that story and thought the rules are different, I'm like, this really makes me want to talk about why we should not stop at no. Now, I did do an Instagram post that says like, no is a complete sentence, and that's more so like if you feel like someone's pressuring you to respond to something and you don't really feel like you should have to, because no is a complete sentence. But if you're really concerned about like goals, and if you really want to make progress, don't just stop at no. There's so much more you can do. Change your thoughts. Like, And with that, you know what else? With that, when it comes to changing your thoughts, a lot of things that stop people from doing things are anxiety, or like racing thoughts. And as soon as something happens, it's like, what if this? What if this? What if this? And it's like if ifs were a fifth, like the whole world would be drunk. There's nothing that it doesn't matter what if. It's like try to challenge your thoughts when those negative thoughts come up, right? Like worst case scenario. Okay, so what evidence do I have that my thoughts are correct? Like if you think I didn't get into this program because I'm just the most awful person in the world, what evidence do you have that states that that's correct? I'm gonna venture to say none, right? Or what if something goes wrong? Challenge that thought by saying, well, has that happened before? If someone says something to you and you perceive it a certain way, or someone does something you don't want to approach them about, and you think it's a certain thing, like what are other explanations for this behavior? What are other explanations for me not getting into this program? What are other explanations for like this person not responding to me? Is it that they're maybe too busy? Is it that they want you to work harder? Is it that they didn't get your mail because it's junk mail? Like, just like try to challenge your thoughts, because that's what everything starts at. Like, am I 100% sure that my worst fear will happen? How many times has this fear or thought happened before? Have I confused a thought with the fact? That's a big one. Do not believe everything you think. Don't. I don't. I try not to like go by the seat of my thoughts, because sometimes my thoughts just be tripping and they need to chill out, and they don't. But don't believe everything you think. Why? Like, isn't the other saying, don't believe everything you hear? You shouldn't believe everything you think. You think some crazy stuff all the time. And it's actually natural to have like, thoughts of just like, oh, this goes to this and this goes to this, and this made me think of a squirrel, and that made me think of a butterfly, and our zebra is black with white stripes or white with black stripes. Like, it's just random stuff. Don't believe everything you think, especially when it's something that's kind of like tearing you down. You got to have more positive self-talk. You take your inner thoughts with you everywhere. Like, be nicer to yourself, be kind to yourself. And then if you're worried about what's the worst that can happen, okay, let's play that scenario out. What's the worst that can happen? What am I going to do if the worst thing happens? I'm going to just deal with it, right? You have survived all of your worst days. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to like this fast talking podcast where I just realized I feel like I talk faster than I need to on this. You've survived all of your worst days. What's the worst that could happen? Like, for some people, the worst that could happen is significantly worse than other things. But when it comes to goals, when it comes to progress, when it comes to change, keep this energy these other people got. Keep this whole like I am entitled to this, because the rules are different. There are certain barriers in place for us as people of color. There are certain things that won't come to us as easily for people as people of color. But does that mean we shouldn't do it? I think the last time I checked the statistic in PhD programs or higher education programs or doctoral programs, PhD specifically, I think black people, I know it was less than 10%. And I know women was even less. Were even no, actually, I don't think women were even less. I think men were even less as black people. Is that going to stop me? No. Like, there are so many times when the perception is that you cannot do things. For example, and a good thing that connected to this, I had a really good friend call me because she was interested in a program that I'm currently doing internship in, and she was told that she would not be able to like get into this program because of her degree. So she was like, she was feeling really down about this, and she was like, let me call Raquel, because I know she goes to this program, and does she know anything about it? Don't you? I was like, there are like 4 people in this program that you're interested in with this degree. Who told you that? And she said, the people in my program. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what the freak they're talking about. This is why you need to get more information and check your resources and try to build relationships with others, because sometimes, and I'm not saying people are being malicious, because I don't think people are being malicious in this. Some people just repeat what they heard. Some people heard a story from a person who heard a story from another person who had an acquaintance whose best friend's cousin's Aunt Pookie said this, and now they're regurgitating that because they're like, this is all I know about that. Some people don't have the same mentality that I do, which is, if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to stay silent because I don't like being embarrassed. That's just how I feel. I'm not a fan of it. Some people don't do that. And something as simple as like my conversation with her really helped change like her trajectory of like, oh, I'm still going to apply to this program. And not only am I going to apply to this program, I am going to actually have more faith about the possibility of me getting into this program. People aren't being malicious most of the time. Some people just repeat stuff that they shouldn't repeat. Some people tried and fail, and something in you makes them feel like the same thing's going to happen because they may not think you're good enough, and they just want to protect you in a sense. Like, I don't want your feelings to get hurt. But so what? I don't know if I'm pretty sure I haven't shared this before, but I'm pregnant, and my next step in my program is my postdoctoral fellowship. When I told a person who's very high up in my program about the fact that I was applying for my postdoctoral fellowship, she said, I don't really know if you'll get that because you're pregnant and it's going to slow your process down. Not only did I get it, I got my number one choice. There was only one spot. I got it. And I got multiple offers and had the opportunity to turn down the offers. Now, I could have took that, what she stated, and said, man, well, I shouldn't even apply. Maybe I'll just take a year off and raise and rear my child at home. But I didn't do that. And this isn't someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. This is someone who is in the application process and who actually accepts and denies people. But I'm not just going to let one person tell me something. No matter how like educated, I'm still going to try. And not only did I get the spot that I wanted, I got multiple offers. Don't let people tell you what you shouldn't be doing. Our rules are different, but that doesn't mean that we can't achieve what we want to achieve. Whether it is going to school, not going to school, doing trade, not doing a trade, losing the weight, gaining the weight, body acceptance is an amazing thing. But like overall, challenge your thoughts. If you're having anxiety about it, think about like, is this true? Is this helpful? Is there another way around this? Is there another explanation? Is there something I can do? If there are barriers, what are the barriers? What are ways to overcome these barriers? Can I educate myself? What are the methods to going forward if I can't overcome it? Like, do I need to take more time with it? Do I need to connect with more people? What's my goal? Basically, starting off with that. Is this a goal that I can achieve? Do I have the skills to achieve this goal? Do I need to get some more education to achieve this goal or some more training? What are the barriers? What are the different routes? Like, think 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step ahead. Just be ready. But nothing beats a fail but a try, right? What's wrong with asking? Like questions or reaching out to people. My mom always tells me when it comes to like advocating for yourself and talking to people, which is probably why I'm so comfortable with it, is you're already at no. So why not ask? If they say no, like, okay, well, this is where I was already at, so it's not a problem. I can ask someone else. If the answer is no for you, do you know someone else you could put me in contact with? Because a lot of times, just like with this school scandal, it was about their money, but it was also about who they knew, who would like do these things for them. Network, advocate for yourself, identify your barriers to change, ask people for questions, ask people for things because you're already at no. And also like, don't wait to do things. There's no dress rehearsal for life. You don't know how much time you have. If you want to achieve a goal, achieve a goal. And I would say with this, the connection to mental health is like thought challenging and trying to change your thought processes to help with your like anxiety or your stressors or with your perceived difficulties. But there's nothing that says that in order to do something, you have to not be scared to do it. You can be scared out of your mind and still do it. It still gets done. So I feel like this was around mental health because I feel like achieving goals and doing and having progress kind of helps with your mental health, and trying does. But this is just something that was really on my mind, and like it's amazing that I have a podcast because I can talk about stuff that's on my mind. But I really hope that it's helpful and it's inspirational to help someone just really try to push the envelope. Why is that a saying? Doesn't make any sense. Try to push the push the envelope. I would say if I'm trying to push something, like, wouldn't you want to push something that's like hard? Like try to achieve a goal that helps you push the boulder. I don't know. I don't like that saying. But if you're afraid to ask someone why, you're already at no. If you're afraid to ask someone, still do it. You can still do stuff scared. When I used to go to the gym, which is not happening currently because I don't want to, my biggest thing was I'm going to go to the gym happy, sad, angry, annoyed, irritated, frustrated, ecstatic. It doesn't matter. I'm just going. I don't have to be in the right mood to do it, or the perfect mood, because there is no perfect mood. I'm just going to go, and then I'll be happy I got it done. Challenge your thoughts, identify what they are, see how realistic they are, keep going forward. Keep the same energy that everyone has, other people have. Be entitled. Feel entitled to the success you want, and go for it. If you have barriers, identify them. If you have goals, solidify them. See how realistic they are. If you don't have the skills to achieve the goal you want to, try to find a way to get them. Network with someone. Can you connect with someone who, you have one part of your goal, and then maybe you can link with someone who has the better skills, and then you guys can facilitate a development of something together. Work hard. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't think that something didn't happen and something didn't work out for you because you weren't enough. Because you know what? There are some people out here buying their way into stuff. They don't think that they're not good enough, even though, like, honestly, they didn't do any of the work to get into something. They just have another way. Find another way. There's another way to do stuff. If you don't know how to, like, if you want to write a book and you want to have, like, pictures in it, you're not a good illustrator, find a good illustrator, link up with somebody. Build connections. I don't see anything wrong with that. So, that's it for today, guys. If you like the podcast, please subscribe. The podcast can be found anywhere you can find a podcast, really. Like, there's iTunes, Spotify. I have a Facebook page too, Mind Your Mental Podcast. I have a Instagram, Mind Your Mental Podcast. Also, gonna be creating a website, so that'll be uber fun when you guys want to tune into that. You can also reach me if you have, like, questions, or if you have topics that you want to talk about, because I love talking about different topics, on mindyourmentalpodcast@gmail.com. What else? I feel like that's it. Oh, also, oh my gosh. So, thanks to YV Radio, Your Voice Radio. This show will be airing every single Thursday. You can find the link by looking at YV Radio on Facebook, YV Radio on Instagram, but every Thursday let me get this right. Every Friday at 10 a.m. So if you don't listen to the podcast, you can also stream me on the YV Radio. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Leave reviews, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and have a fabulous day, night, evening, morning. Be kind to yourself and keep just the fabulous energy of feeling entitled to the things that you want, because you deserve them. And don't think that you don't just because you've gotten one door slammed in your face. At this point in my education, I have had 2 doors, a window, a side door that I didn't even know. And then just when I thought I hit rock bottom, there was a basement. But I'm here. It's just like, there's a basement. I'm going to just dig myself out this hole. Oh, my shovel broke. I'm going to just use this spoon. Spoon broke. I'm going to just use my hands. We're going to get out of here. Just think of it that way. And y'all have a fantastic day.